Hello, YouTube. Here's the second video. Um, and the video idea is just simple. How do you achieve world peace? It's a very complicated question. But, I was working out yesterday with my father-in-law and we were talking about AI. And I'm like, wow, this AI thing, can solve so many problems. And look at all the stuff. And he's like, oh, well, can it solve world peace? How do you get peace in the Middle East? And or peace in general. And I'm like, oh well, um, I think human nature is what it is, right? And I think the best analogy I had is when I was growing up in India, you had the teachers that left the classroom. As soon as the teachers left the classroom, everybody, all the boys in the class, used to act up. But as soon as another teacher walks back into the classroom, everyone's like, good morning, teacher. Everyone stands up. Everyone sits down. Thank you, teacher. Everybody sits down. Everyone's orderly, right? Because in India, when I was growing up at least, right, everyone was scared of the teacher because, the teacher can hit you with a steel ruler or a bamboo stick and they can send you to the principal's office, right? And he has a really big bamboo stick to beat you. So everyone's scared of the teacher, right? So, you know, but as soon as the teacher leaves the class, it's complete chaos, right? Not all the time, but sometimes it's complete chaos, right? And then the biggest kid in class, sometimes he's there for failed one or two grades, and he's like the boss of the class, and he sometimes bullies people, right? So it's a little crazy, right? Um, but that is the example I want to use for world peace. It's the idea that you need strong enough deterrence for there to be peace, right? Russia attacked Ukraine because they thought they can get away with it, right? You know, and in a world where you have, you know, wars happen because folks perfectly understand each other and still can get away with it, right? There's not a large enough deterrent to say, hey, do I really want to do this? But there's no teacher, right? Um, so you need, like the European Union, like another example I was thinking about. We live in the United States? Why did the states not, attack each other? We had a civil war where 11 states succeeded and, started a whole war. But like, why is the governor of Georgia, not like going and taking over Alabama? Because the governor of Georgia, we have an army, and Alabama has an army, right? So like, and also there's a federal army. Like, in order for there to be peace, there is larger enough deterrence that if hopefully you don't need to use them, but large enough deterrence so that there won't be a war, right? A lot of peace takes a lot of work, right? It all takes a lot of communication and stuff like that. But also, it's that there are situations where it's incredibly difficult to negotiate, right? And you know, um, but and so I'm not gonna give you the whole answer to world peace, but you have the European Union, and since the European Union has been formed after two world wars, right, there hasn't been as many wars, right? So it's just the idea is that peace takes a lot of work, and I think the world needs more of these unions uh, in order for there to be peace, right? People need to work together to see the common goal and benefit, right? So, you um, we need to share resources instead of taking resources from each other, right? Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? We need to share resources. We need to say, um, we're only here for a short period of time. We're going to die, right? So, what's the point of starting a war, or going to war if I'm going to be dead and I don't really own any of this stuff, right? What's the point of going and, you know, uh, fighting this giant war if um, if when I die I don't take any of this with me, you know. So then the focus becomes more on the experience of life rather than uh, the ownership of life, like the materialism of life, right? Um, this land is mine. Instead of saying that, right, I am here to experience the things that are given to me, and I'm here to, give back, right? And so taking, humanity needs to focus on giving, right? So, you know, in the example of the classroom again, right? The teacher leaves, and so the kids, the big kids getting in the fight, or people looking at each other, and so that maybe people look around and say, "Hey, do you need something? Do you need a pencil, or do you need this?" So, it is human nature, and I can't solve human nature, but it is possible. Humanity it has so much potential to be kind and patient, and so we're not all bad, you know. We're not all we're more alike than we are different, right? And the sooner we see that, and social media and all this stuff, take that aside, we're more alike. We all want the same things, right? I keep saying that no matter the different cultures, we all want similar things, right? We want to take care of family, food, entertainment. We all want the same things. And once we realize that, and we all want, our home, Earth, to prosper, right? So, I've been thinking about how hot the summer has been. It's just getting hotter and hotter, right? We don't want Earth to be an oven, right? So, we all have to work towards common goals and realize that if we don't do that, that's not good for us, right? Not good for ourselves and our future kids, right? And any children or grandchildren have. We have to stop looking uh, just at the things we can own and look at, what can we pass down to our future generations that, how can we give back to people that are hurting, right? It's, you know, um, it's insane to me how much the world claims to be religious, and then the actions of the world does not reflect good religious values. That's all I have to say about that, right? Most religions say, "Hey, don't hurt other people. Be loving, kind, respectful," right? And then you look at the world, and you're like, you know, what is going on here? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's, there's a lot of it, you know there's an idea of internal motivation, external motivation. There's a lot of other factors you can go into it, but at the very basic level, right? If you don't have a way to control human nature runs rampant, right? And so, for example, a stoplight, right? Red means stop, orange, yellow means slow down, green means go, right? But not everyone stops at yellow because everyone interprets yellow, slows down, a yellow, right? Differently, right? Oh, maybe I can make it through the light. So human nature is always going to be what it is. If you make the rules more, uh, if you have stricter rules, you have, ways to collaborate and communicate and share a vision where everyone is going in the same boat and everyone understands that, then it's different, right? If you guys watch the movie, there's a movie called what is that called? Uh, where he goes to I forget the movie name, but yeah, there's this ash, all this the Earth, I think free falling or something like that. But basically, all the suns are dying, right? And yes, their only hope was to send a teacher on a spaceship to this one star that was dying, right? So like all the countries got together to try to figure this out, right? So anyway, yeah. Um, you know, we have to realize sooner than later that we're friends, not enemies, right? We're friends. We're on the same planet, and we're given this gift of life, and we have to preserve it. And it's not easy, but it's worth it because life is worth preserving. The good stuff is worth fighting for, and not in terms of wars, but in terms of the good has to, you know, keep going. Anyway, so anyway, how do you prevent wars? You have stronger, deterrents, right? So people don't just start willy-nilly wars, right? You have more teachers, right? Not the United States, can't be the only one governing, you know, going around and policing things. I think each region needs to have its own police, right? So I think the Middle East needs to have its own, top dog that makes sure that, when anyone's misbehaving, you have, you know, you have the top dog in the area making sure keeping the peace, right? So I don't know. There's never going to be a perfect answer, but I think the answer is really just aligning interests, right? Aligning interests and ensuring large enough deterrents and making sure there are people who are going to work together, you know, making people believe in something bigger than fear, right? Making people believe in hope and a brighter future, right? Hope is the strongest deterrent to fear, right? If you can make people believe and hope for something, you know, fear will not win, right? So we cannot let fear win, right? That's the idea. Anyway, that's all I have. I wish I had the answer to world peace, but this is my solution to it or answer. Thank you for watching. Bye.